Hi.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us in our Out of Office series. Whitney, Bromberg, Hawkings, I am such a huge fan of you and Flowerbx and what you have built.
Right back at you, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Okay, first question. What are your flowers of choice?
Oh my God, that's an impossible question. For me, whatever's like ultimately in season is what's the most beautiful.
It's a really beautiful way of looking at it, actually. So your career started in fashion. You were Tom Ford's assistant at Gucci. Then you became Senior Vice President of Communications. That's a really incredible career trajectory. Tell me about that journey and actually what did you take and what were your learnings from working in such a fast-paced fashion, high-end environment?
I know, see, I thought that was fast-paced and intense, but actually having your own company, it was like a walk in the park next to having your own company.
Fair.
No, but I try to instill this in my kids all the time, like work hard. The trajectory I had was all something that I created because I worked all the time. I was always at that office. I was always available to go the extra mile. I always said yes to the night shoot, to the trip to wherever it was. I was always available. And I think especially when you're starting out, in order to become noticed, you need to, always be front of mind. So I basically, and Tom is someone who really amazingly rewarded hard work. So he believed in sort of promoting within and really rewarding hard work, which is something that I believe in at Flowerbx. You see talent, you know who's talented, you know who to nurture and who can grow and who wants to go all the way with Flowerbx. So I think that's really important to hold on to those good people, let them grow, let them learn, let them keep progressing, and then you create a really amazing team.
But that hustle is, so you talk about the hustle and that hard work, that's just as, important when you're building your own company.
I mean,
if
even
not
more
more.
important,
Yeah.
more important because the buck stops with you. So if you're not hustling and you're not working hard, then it's no one else is.
Yeah. Lead by example
Exactly.
as well. I want to talk about your bag for a second.
Oh, my
Tell me
favorite
about
bag.
the Whitney.
I know. It's obviously my favorite bag. My husband named his first icon bag the Whitney. So I love it. It's great. I carry it everywhere. I have it in every size. This is the Whitney tote, but I also have a great collection of Whitney. Super flattering. But Tom named the first eyewear he did at Tom Ford the Whitney. It was the one, Angelina Jolie, Jennifer Aniston, all of them wore. And it's still the bestseller at Tom Ford. So I think it's in the name.
In the name, and I'm sure you added some personality to it as well.
If I had $1 for every one of those Whitney sunglasses that were sold, I would be a very rich woman.
Brilliant. Well, let's talk about Flowerbx and how well that's doing. How did it originate?
It's certainly not making me rich yet.
But you're 8 years in.
8 years in.
I know we spoke about having such a big drive during COVID and how it picked up so much and actually managing that. Where did Flowerbx originate and where are you now?
Yeah, so I started it as basically a solution for something that I couldn't find. I was a working mom at that point. I had very small kids, the age of yours. I wanted to have friends over for dinner. I didn't want to go to a florist to buy flowers because I didn't want to spend 300 pounds to buy flowers. So I would go to the Covent Garden Market. There I was, in a pencil skirt and stilettos because I had Tom in the office at 9, filling my car up with flowers. I was like, this makes no sense. Why can't I just order? I was ordering everything in my life online. I was like, why can't I just order beautiful bunches of flowers, super fresh, to my house online? And I didn't want them arranged. I didn't want a bouquet. I just wanted 10 hydrangea in a side vase or 20 peonies on my kitchen table to make the house come to life. So that was one sort of box or sort of one solution that I needed in my life. And then also sending flowers. In fashion, flowers are currency. You're sending flowers every single day. Thank you for this. Thank you for the article. Thank you for the piece. Thank you for wearing the clothes. Thank you. So I was sending flowers on behalf of Tom, and Tom was receiving flowers every day. And I realized there was this real inconsistency of what I was sending. So whether I was going to a florist in Paris, a florist in Milan, a florist in LA, I was trying to say, okay, white peonies, no greenery, really clean, simple, beautiful wrap, and no plastic. And then you'd see what was sent, and it was like whatever the florist had on hand. So I was like, how come no one's created a consistent quality-led flower brand? So Interflora is an international and global brand, but it's internationally terrible. And I wanted to create something that was globally really beautiful and really consistent. The same way you go to Prada in London, in Tokyo, in Paris, in Milan, you're getting, the same sales staff, wearing the same uniform. You're getting a sort of consistency of experience.
How did you do it all with 3 kids? You talked about that time starting a business with very, very young children. Now they're 3 and they're a bit bigger with shoes all over the house. But how did you do it all with 3 kids?
I know. So Wallace, my 8-year-old, she was born when I started Flowerbx. So I feel like she's my metaphorical sort of flower girl, growing as the business grows. How do you do it all? I think, like all of us, it is a juggle, but at work you assemble teams, you find people that are really good at things you're not good at, or things, where you don't feel like you can make ends meet. And at home, I think I'm so lucky I have an incredible husband who is my equal 100% in taking care of our family. And I also have, I'm super lucky to have, a nanny and people at home, whether it's a grandmother or a nanny or whatever, that can help you. And I think just delegating and realizing these are my limits. This is where I have to draw a line. I can't do it all.
Yeah,
and just being forgiving with yourself. Like the guilt, I just have zero guilt about anything.
Oh, that's incredible.
Literally zero. And I
That's a
did with
real
the first
skill.
two when they were small. I felt guilty about everything all the time. And now, I see the product, a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old boy who are like, my mom's awesome. She's built this business. They're talking to their friends about their mom. And that's because of I wasn't at every single school play ever. No, I did go to all the school plays, but every drop off, every pickup, I wasn't always.
But it's that teaching as well, I guess, which is really important. So it's being present. Not having that guilt, I think, is a massive thing that a lot of mums deal with. I certainly do. So that's really incredible.
I did too. I did when they were small.
Managing
but, yeah.
it. But also them kind of growing up to respect that you have done it all.
Exactly.
Or you are doing it all.
And I think they have more respect for me now than they would have had I done everything, been at every school gate, when they were growing up. And then, now they're off and I would be sort of at home waiting for them to get home.
Yeah. Downtime. Do you get downtime? If so, what does that look like?
I don't love downtime. I've sort of also come to terms with the fact that I love to exercise, and exercise gives me like mental clarity, and it's sort of my meditation, like active meditation. But I don't love like downtime because I'm always like, what can I be doing? I love to cook too. So that to me is like also meditative, on a weekend. That's what sort of calms me down.
So I guess that's the way to kind of take your mind off work, though it's probably somewhere in the back, something's ticking over to-do lists and, having to do that and meet this person or write that email. I'm sure that's still kind of ticking on in the background.
Yeah, but I think kids are also a very good way of being present. So you can't, that's what actually makes me just stop is spending time with my kids.
You've worked with some incredible people, I'm sure met some incredible people. If you could share dessert with one person, who would that be?
That's so hard. We recently did the flowers for Victoria Beckham's 50th birthday in London, and she was so funny and cute and like super hilarious and warm. And I have to say right now, like after that, after meeting her, then I would love to just sit and like have a glass of wine and dessert with her because I think it would be a real laugh.
Great. A good laugh is actually who you want to have dessert
exactly.
with. And what about traveling? So where do you travel as a family? What's your go-to? Any tips for traveling with children?
We go to Italy a lot. We're both sort of Italophiles. It's been easy when the kids were small. Italians are so nice and so sort of, they don't mind kids. They don't mind noise. They don't mind someone getting up from the table when they're small. So that was always really easy when they were younger, and obviously the food's amazing. It's consistent, sort of consistently delivers on all of those things. But now that everyone's getting older, we're taking a lot more exotic trips, and it's so fun. It's so fun discovering new places with the children. We went to Rio recently. My husband was shooting the ad campaign in Rio, and he's like, why don't you all come? And they were on school break, so we went, and it was so amazing discovering something as a grown adult and also discovering it with them. So that's like actually our new favorite thing.
And do they take a part in deciding where they want to go, or an input and actually we want to go there, Mom and Dad?
Not right now, because it's sort of led by, whether it's work or whatever, but it's always exotic and exciting places.
Do you get much time to read?
I do. I make time to read because I love it, and especially on on holiday all the time. That's another sort of meditative and sort of relaxing thing to do.
Is there a book that you would recommend that one woman read in her life, an essential book?
I think To Kill a Mockingbird. I read it as a young girl. I've seen my boys read it now, and it's still so relevant. It's really disturbing that since the 60s, now 60 years later, and it's written about, a man in the 30s, and it's all still totally relevant and nothing's really changed. The issues of racism, the issues of standing up for what's right, of good versus evil, of walking in someone's shoes. All of those are like just so many endless lessons, but they're so relevant now. Just talking it through with my sons, they're as relevant to them now, unfortunately, as they were, to me.
Yeah, I remember it's an essential school read here, I think, in the
Yeah,
UK system.
in the US too.
Oh, really? And
Yeah.
I saw the play on Broadway, and it was just spectacular, but incredibly moving and upsetting, actually.
Yeah, so been so many lessons, like
Yeah. What was the last thing you binge watched?
Well, actually, on the question, it said binged watched or binged read.
Or binged
And
read,
I
yeah.
have to say, my friend Plum Sykes has just written the most brilliant novel called Wives Like Us. It's set in the Cotswolds. I don't know if you know Plum, but she wrote Bergdorf Blondes, and she was like my biggest girl crush when I was at university. I didn't know her then. Now she's become a very good friend, but she wrote the most brilliant book called Wives Like Us. It's like the satirical book on women in the Cotswolds, sort of, and how it's become this scene, out of nowhere. And it's so funny and it's so clever and it's absolutely brilliant. So I sat down to read it and then I read the whole thing.
Oh, that's great. That's rare to find.
It is.
Definitely one to
It
add
is
to the reading
definitely
list.
summer reading must.
And what is the last thing you do before bed and the first thing you do when you wake up?
I kiss my husband.
Gorgeous.
I really do. Last thing and first thing.
I love that. That's wonderful. And if you could go somewhere tomorrow, where would you go?
I thought a lot about that, and I would be right here. My husband's coming back from Italy. He's been in New York and Italy. I would be right here with my kids. London's beautiful right now, finally. And I think appreciating where you are right now is so important. And it's like always like, where should I go? What should I be doing? And just like, I would be right here with my family this weekend.
And enjoying that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Whitney, I'm going to move to our quick fire questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
Great. What is your coffee order?
Cortado with oat milk.
What's your favorite cuisine?
Italian.
Perfect date?
My family.
An extra 5 hours in the day. How would you spend it?
Probably, unfortunately, working, like some of it, but definitely I would like exercise more and probably sleep a little bit more.
If you're down, what cheers you up?
My family and my puppy.
Oh,
I mean,
I
she's
love
not even a puppy. She's 9, but she's still my puppy.
Always.
Yeah.
Babies are always babies. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
That thing about like just being kind. People who said, "Oh, you really helped me when I was down," or "You really cheered me up," and you were always so kind. Like that to me is like, "Oh, good. I'm so glad," because that's obviously the most important thing to be remembered by and to be able to cheer someone up or make someone feel better when they're down.
Being kind, absolutely. What's your go-to drink?
Red wine, Valpolicella Ripasso.
Nice. What song are you listening to on repeat?
God, Beyonce's Cowboy Carter, nonstop. That Levi's jeans is my favorite song.
Amazing. Do you have a favorite piece of item? Clothing, jewelry, beauty product?
Oh, well, my Whitney bag.
Love it, as it should
I also
be.
love this suit. This is actually called the Wallace suit after our daughter, and it is really good. It's totally perfect. Wear it with flats, wear it with whatever.
I love it. It's
I love
gorgeous and it's so elegant.
Thank you.
Is there a trend that you are totally over?
Waste, fast food, fast fashion, waste. I just think it's disgusting. It really bothers me.
Fair, very fair. If you could be born in any decade, which decade would that be?
I think again now I feel so lucky with my life and when I was born and what I've achieved with my family. So I wouldn't change anything.
And my final question, it's a little early on in life, I appreciate that, but if you wrote a book about your life and career so far, what would it be called?
I always laugh about this because I do want to write a book on Flowerbx called Building the Plane on the Way Down, because that's really what it feels like. It's like, okay, here we go. We need a wing. Let's get a wing. We need an engine. So I think that would be the book I'm currently writing in my head.
Brilliant. Whitney, thank you so much for indulging us in your time and your questions and the Whitney bag and all your insight. I wish you the best of luck and out of office, enjoy.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Loved it.